My husband thinks I got pregnant just to trap him. Now he's sleeping in the guest room. So this whole thing kicked off about 6 weeks ago when I peed on a stick and saw 2 pink lines that changed everything. I'm Jenna, 29, and I've been married to Ryan, 33, for just over 2 years. We've been together for 6. We live in a quiet suburb outside Denver, in a 2-bedroom duplex we rent together. I work as a logistics coordinator for a warehouse supply company. Not glamorous, but stable. Ryan's in IT. He works from home 3 days a week and spends a good chunk of the rest glued to his PC gaming setup. Kids weren't on our immediate radar. We'd vaguely talked about maybe one day, but nothing serious. I was on the pill, though I'll admit I missed a couple here and there when work got crazy. I didn't think much of it at the time. I wasn't trying to get pregnant. So when I saw that positive test, I sat on the edge of our tub and felt like my lungs were collapsing. I texted my friend Kara something like, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit," then just sat there. I didn't tell Ryan right away. I waited a full day. I needed time to process it myself. When I finally told him, it was after dinner, just us on the couch, the TV playing some mindless true crime in the background. I didn't do anything dramatic, just said, "Hey, I took a test, and it's positive." I even showed him the test. He stared at it like it was a loaded gun. Then he said nothing. I asked if he was okay. Still silence. Then he asked, "Did you plan this?" I blinked. "What?" "No. Of course not." He nodded, slow, too calm. "You sure?" That question. I swear I felt it like a slap. I repeated myself. "Yes. I didn't plan this, Ryan. I'm just as surprised as you are." He stood up, walked into the kitchen, poured himself a drink, bourbon, which he rarely touches during the week, and didn't come back to the couch. Just stood by the sink and sipped. That night, he slept in the guest room. The next few days were cold. He didn't ask me how I was feeling. Didn't bring it up at all. I finally forced a conversation, and that's when he said it again. That he thought I let it happen on purpose. His exact words were, "You knew missing the pill could get you pregnant, right? So, you kind of made a choice." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried explaining that it was never intentional. That I'd been overwhelmed and careless, not calculating. That if I'd wanted to trap him, I wouldn't have been crying on the bathroom floor when I found out. He just looked at me like I was trying to sell him something he didn't want. That night, I cried myself to sleep. Alone. I started to replay every interaction we'd had for the last few months. Was I too clingy? Did I push him into this relationship? No, that wasn't right. We moved in together because he asked me to. We got married because he proposed. I wasn't some rom-com villain scheming for a baby. But his suspicion hung in the air like a bad smell. And the worst part, he didn't say he didn't want the baby. He didn't say he wanted it either. He said nothing about it at all. Just kept acting like I'd tricked him. A week later, I tried to bring up our options, keeping it, abortion, adoption, whatever. I wasn't even sure what I wanted yet, and I thought maybe we could figure it out together. But he cut me off. "Honestly," he said, "I don't even know if I trust you right now." That broke something in me. I started sleeping in the guest room myself because I couldn't take the way he looked at me in hours. Like I was a stranger. At work, I kept it together. At home, I was unraveling. I hadn't even told my mom yet. I wasn't ready for the questions, the judgment, or the pressure. And I sure as hell wasn't ready to admit my husband thought I'd used a baby as a relationship shackle. I kept hoping he'd come around. That he'd realize how messed up this was. That maybe he was just scared and would start acting like the guy I married again. But then something happened that made me realize this might not just be fear. It might be who he is now. It was a Saturday afternoon. I overheard him on the phone in the backyard, talking to someone, laughing, which I hadn't heard in weeks. And then he said, "She says it was an accident, but I'm not stupid. She's been pressuring me about the future for months." I stood at the sliding door, frozen. That was the moment I realized he didn't just fear I trapped him. He believed it, and I didn't know how to come back from that. After the phone call I overheard, I couldn't look at Ryan the same. I didn't confront him right away. I needed to figure out what the hell I was even dealing with. Was this some phase? A stress response? Or was he just done? That Sunday, I tried to act normal. Made coffee. Toasted bagels. Asked if he wanted eggs. He grunted something non-committal, grabbed his mug, and went back to the guest room. He barely looked at me. By Tuesday, I caved and told Kara everything. She's been my best friend since college, and thank God she's blunt. After I finished laying it all out, how he said I might have trapped him, how he was avoiding me, how he didn't want to talk, she said, "He sounds like a Reddit thread come to life." We laughed, kind of. Then she asked something I hadn't considered. "Has he told anyone else? Like, Is he spreading this around? That hit me weird. It hadn't occurred to me he might be talking about me. But the more I thought about it, the more I remembered how he'd suddenly stopped calling my brother Mark back after usually texting him memes and sports crap all the time. So I texted Mark that night, asking if they talked lately. He replied, "Yeah, last week." Why? I stared at my phone for a while. Then I asked him, "Did he say anything about me?" 10 minutes passed before he answered. "Jenna, I think you and I should talk in person." We met up at a diner the next day. Mark looked pissed before I even sat down. He didn't waste time. Look, I didn't want to get in the middle. But I thought what he said was messed up. My stomach twisted. I asked, "What did he say?" Mark sighed. "He said you've been pushing for kids for over a year and that you probably stopped taking your pills on purpose. That you strategically timed it." Those were his words. I wanted to throw up. I told Mark that wasn't true, that it had been a total accident, that I was still trying to figure things out myself. He looked like he believed me, but also like he was holding back. Then he dropped the bomb. He showed me the spreadsheet he made. My brain stuttered. "What spreadsheet?" Mark took out his phone and, after some hesitation, showed me a picture. Ryan had made a chart tracking my menstrual cycles, dates we had sex, and notes like, "Jenna brought up timeline again," or "She was distant after I said I'm not ready for kids." I felt like the walls around me shifted, like my own life had been turned into some twisted case file. Why the hell would he do that? I whispered. Mark didn't answer. I sat there stunned. My own husband had built a fucking conspiracy board about me, and then took it to my brother. Like he was trying to build a case that I was manipulative, calculated, a liar. And the worst part was, he actually thought he was right. When I got home that night, Ryan was on his computer, headset on, gaming. I stood in the doorway until he finally took off the headset. "Can we talk?" He sighed like I was interrupting something sacred. "What now?" I saw the spreadsheet. I talked to Mark. He froze. "You kept records of our sex life?" And then showed them to my brother. He had the audacity to say, "It's not like that." I lost it. "Then what the hell is it like, Ryan? Are you building a legal case against me? Are you gonna sue me for being fertile?" He just kept shaking his head. "You don't get it. You've been talking about kids for months. I knew this was coming. I just didn't expect you'd go this far." That's when I realized he genuinely believed he'd been manipulated. Like he was the victim in some elaborate emotional heist. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, he avoided me. Left early. Didn't say where he was going. I sat on the edge of our bed and stared at a spot on the floor until my alarm for work went off. I didn't go in. Instead, I called my OB and scheduled a prenatal appointment. I didn't know what I wanted, but I needed information. I needed control. At the appointment, I saw the little flicker on the monitor that meant the baby's heart was beating. I felt a mix of everything. Terror, awe, grief, and then guilt for bringing a baby into this mess. I texted Ryan a photo of the ultrasound. He didn't respond. Hours passed. Nothing. That night, I came home and found him in the living room, watching a show I liked without me. No acknowledgement of a text. I brought it up. "You got the photo?" He nodded. "Do you have anything to say?" Another shrug. "I don't know what you want from me. I didn't ask for this." It wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Like I'd ordered a pizza he didn't like, and now he was stuck eating it. Not a child. Not a life. A week later, he canceled our planned visit to my mom's house. Told her he had work. Told me he wasn't in the mood for pretending. I'm starting to think I don't know the man I married at all. And I'm starting to wonder if he ever really knew me. After the spreadsheet incident, things got worse. Ryan wasn't just distant now, he was gone. Physically, emotionally, mentally. He started working later than usual, said he had deadlines. That might have worked if he hadn't come home one night, wearing cologne he never wears. Not the stuff I gave him for our anniversary. Something new. I noticed it immediately. "Since when do you wear that?" I asked, standing in the kitchen while he took off his coat. He froze for a second, then shrugged. "One of the guys at work spilled cologne in the office." It was such a lazy lie I didn't even bother responding. I just stared at him. He avoided eye contact. "I'm taking the couch tonight." By the end of that week, he packed a duffel bag and moved into a short-term rental. Claimed it was temporary, that he needed space to think, and that he wasn't abandoning me. It felt like abandonment. He said, "Don't make this about the baby. I just need clarity." But what the hell does that mean when your wife is 7 weeks pregnant and crying into a cup of chamomile tea every night? I didn't tell anyone right away. Not my mom, not Kara, not even Mark. I was too embarrassed. I didn't want to admit that my husband moved out right when I needed him most. But then something happened that forced me to say it out loud. I went in for my next checkup. They asked if the father would be attending. I said no. The nurse just nodded, but I could feel it. That flicker of judgment. Maybe it was in my head. Maybe not. So I told Kara. Told her he moved out. Told her I was losing my mind. She didn't seem surprised. Jenna, I didn't want to say anything before, but do you remember his coworker? Lexi. I did. Vaguely. He'd mentioned her a few times in passing. Young, newly hired, also in IT. Nothing weird. But Kara looked serious. Lexi's been liking all his photos lately. Even the ones from, 2 years ago. Creepy deep likes. I felt sick. I hadn't thought to check. I wasn't that person until now. I opened Instagram that night and scrolled. She had, in fact, been liking everything. Even stuff from before we were married. Pictures of us together. Of me. And then I saw one he'd posted 2 weeks ago, some artsy shot of a sunset with a cryptic caption. Not all endings are sad. Some are just necessary. Lexi had commented, this. My heart felt like it stopped. I confronted him over text. Asked directly, are you seeing her? His response came fast. Jesus, Jenna. You're seriously acting like this now? I'm not cheating on you. God. But it was vague. Defensive. Not a no. Just the kind of denial that creates more doubt. I said, do you even want this baby? He left me on read. That silence told me everything. 2 days later, I came home to find a piece of mail addressed to Ryan Blackwell, care of Family Law Center. A legal notice. I opened it. He had filed for a legal separation. I dropped to the floor and sobbed like I hadn't since I was a teenager. I didn't even know he'd gotten a lawyer. I called him that night. He didn't pick up. I texted, you're filing for separation while I'm carrying your child? He answered hours later, I'm not ready to be a father. You knew that. That night, I told Mark everything. I didn't want to, but I couldn't carry it alone anymore. Mark was livid. He can't just walk away like this. But he was. That's exactly what he was doing. The next week was a blur. I tried to work, but I couldn't focus. I canceled my follow-up ultrasound because I didn't want to go alone. I stopped eating properly. Kara started dropping off food, sitting with me, holding my hand when I couldn't stop shaking. Then something strange happened. I got an email from Ryan's old Gmail, the one he barely used, mostly for junk. It had been automatically forwarded to me by accident. I don't know how it happened, but there it was, an email thread between him and Lexi. In it he wrote, if the kid's not mine, I'm gone for good. I'm not going to play house with a liar. Lexi replied, you don't owe her anything. You're not the first guy to get trapped. Protect yourself. The words blurred. Get trapped. Play house. Not the first guy. I couldn't breathe. Not because of the betrayal, but because they were talking about my baby like it was some scam. Like I was some predator who'd lured him into fatherhood against his will. I forwarded the thread to myself, then stared at my phone for hours, not knowing what to do with it. That night, I went through our old photo albums. Smiling beach trips, Christmas mornings, selfies at concerts. I didn't recognize the man in them anymore. I think that was the night I stopped loving him. But it wasn't the end. Not yet, because a few days later, he came back and brought up a word I never thought I'd hear him say. Paternity. He came over on a Thursday. No warning, no text. I was folding laundry in silence when I heard the front door unlock. I stood up so fast I knocked the laundry basket over. Ryan walked in like it was still his house. Technically it was, but emotionally, it felt like he was trespassing. He looked different. Not just tired, but detached, like whatever was happening between us wasn't even real to him anymore. Like he was just visiting an old apartment he used to rent. Nothing more. He didn't say hello. Just asked, can we talk? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He didn't sit. Just stood near the kitchen, hands in his jacket pockets, as if he didn't want to get too comfortable or too close. Like proximity might trap him further. I think we need to do a paternity test. It took me a full 10 seconds to understand what he meant. I blinked, stunned. You think this baby isn't yours? He looked down at his shoes. I think it would be irresponsible not to confirm. We both know things haven't been perfect lately. I laughed, but it came out all wrong, bitter, dry, almost hysterical. Ryan, you left. You called me manipulative. You told my brother I strategically timed a pregnancy. And now you want me to prove this baby is yours. I just want to be sure, he said, like it was a reasonable request. Like this wasn't a nuclear bomb in the middle of a crumbling marriage. That's all. That's not all, I snapped. That's everything. That's you calling me a cheat without saying the word. That's you saying you don't trust me. That I'm capable of lying about something this massive. He didn't respond. Just stood there with that blank, measured expression he gets when he's trying to be the logical one in a fight. Wouldn't you want proof too, if it were the other way around? He finally asked. No, I said instantly. I trust you. Even now, after everything. I'd still trust you before humiliating you like this. His face didn't change. Fine, I said after a long pause. You want a test? You'll get one. But don't think I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for the child, because one day they might ask why their father doubted them before they were even born, and I want to have the fucking paperwork ready. The rest of the conversation was cold and clinical. He gave me information for the lab he'd already contacted. Already. Like this had been in the works. Like he'd been waiting for the right moment to bring it up. Like he was planning a meeting, not confronting the mother of his child. When he left, I sank to the couch and cried so hard my chest ached. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the loneliness. The horrifying realization that I could be doing this entire thing by myself. The next morning, Kara came over. She held my hand as I called the lab and scheduled a non-invasive prenatal paternity test. Blood from me, cheek swab from him. No risk to the baby, the technician assured me. I wanted to ask her if there was any risk to my dignity because that felt like what was really on the table. We went in separately. I couldn't face him again. Then came the wait. 2 endless weeks. 2 weeks of nausea, of crying in grocery store parking lots, of Googling single-parent budgeting advice at 2 a.m. He didn't check in. Not once. No text. No call. No, how are you holding up? It was like I didn't exist anymore, just the theoretical possibility of a responsibility he hoped to avoid. And then on a gray Tuesday morning, I got the email, results ready. Log into view. I sat frozen in my kitchen for 10 minutes before I could type. My hands shook so badly I mistyped the password twice. Then the result loaded. 99.99% match. Ryan was the father. I stared at the screen. I thought I'd feel vindicated, but all I felt was tired, bone-deep exhaustion, as if my body had been holding in a scream for weeks, and now didn't even have the strength to let it out. I sent him a screenshot. 2 hours later, he replied, okay. Thanks for doing that. Can we talk sometime this week? Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just a bland, corporate response. Like he was replying to a work email. He came over that Thursday, exactly 1 week after the test. This time he brought flowers, cheap grocery store carnations, red and white, still damp from the cooler. I didn't invite him in. We stood on the porch. I didn't want him in my space. Not after everything. He handed me the bouquet like it was supposed to mean something. I'm sorry. I know this has been intense. Intense. I repeated. Ryan, you accused me of trapping you. Then of cheating. Then you left. And when I didn't beg you to stay, you filed for separation. And now that a piece of paper says the baby is yours, you bring me $5 carnations and think that counts as closure. He looked down. I panicked. No, I said. You planned. You plotted. You built spreadsheets and talked to coworkers and made me out to be some desperate, conniving lunatic. You didn't panic. You executed. He didn't say a word. I want to know something, I said. Do you actually want to be a father? Do you want to co-parent? Or are you just trying to clean your conscience so you can tell people you did the right thing and still walk away? He paused for a long time. Then, barely above a whisper, I don't know. That hurt more than anything he'd said so far. I stepped back and closed the door. He didn't knock again. That night, I laid in bed, hand on my stomach, the quiet hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the world. The baby kicked, or maybe I imagined it, and I realized something that terrified me. Even if Ryan disappeared tomorrow, I wasn't sure I'd ever want to tell this child who he really was. It was Tuesday morning, gray outside, and too quiet inside the clinic. I sat alone in the exam room, draped in that awkward paper gown that never covers enough, feet in stirrups, belly exposed, heart in my throat. I clutched my phone in one hand, screen dark, no new messages. No good luck today. No, I'll be there soon. Just silence. The ultrasound tech walked in, a woman about my age with kind eyes but a distant smile. She didn't ask if anyone was joining me. Maybe she knew not to. Maybe she recognized the look on my face. Not sadness, not hope. Just a kind of worn-out endurance. She pressed the cold gel to my stomach, slid the probe across, and the monitor blinked to life. And there it was. My baby. Still small, curled slightly, but with form now. Head, spine, fluttering limbs. And the heartbeat. Fast. Certain. So much more certain than anything else in my life. You're at just over 12 weeks, the tech said. Everything looks good. I nodded. I didn't ask for a printout. She left the room, And I lay there for a long time afterward, one hand on my belly, the other still holding my useless phone. The room smelled like antiseptic and paper. And I realized Ryan hadn't even asked about this appointment. When I got home, the house felt too clean, too empty. Like it had already decided it was mine alone. I wandered into what used to be his office, now filled with boxes of baby gear Kara had started bringing me. It hit me that I was planning for a life that might not include him at all. But then I saw the text. It had come in while I was at the clinic. Ryan, can we meet today? For a real conversation. I owe you that. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't answer right away. I read it again. And again. He hadn't spoken to me in over a week. Hadn't asked about the ultrasound. Hadn't followed up after I shut the door in his face. But something about this text felt different. I thought about the spreadsheet, the legal forms, the cold, distant questions. And then I thought about the night we met, when he offered me the last slice of pizza, even though he'd only had one. About the way he used to curl around me when we slept, hand resting protectively on my stomach long before there was a baby to protect. Maybe that man was gone. Or maybe he was still in there. I replied, okay, cafe on Maple. 5 p.m. His answer came quick, I'll be there. At 4:55, I sat in my car, watching him through the cafe window. He was already inside, hunched over a coffee, palms flat on the table. He looked older, thinner, nervous. I walked in. He stood. We didn't hug, just sat. Neither of us ordered food. He was the first to speak. I don't deserve your time, he said. But I'm here anyway, because I need to own everything. The way I treated you, it wasn't panic. It was cowardice. I didn't say anything. He took a deep breath. I've been going to therapy. It started as damage control, but it turned into more. I've had to face parts of myself I didn't want to. The part that equates fatherhood with losing control. The part that thought if I pretended hard enough, I could keep my life on the same track, avoid the mess, the responsibility. He looked up at me. But the truth is, I am responsible. For this baby. For what I said. For not believing you. Still, I stayed quiet. I was listening, but I wasn't ready to rescue him. I didn't come today to beg, or to erase what I did. I just wanted to say that I want to try. I want to be in this. I don't know if we can fix us, but I want to be a father. I want this child to know me. Know love. I felt my throat tighten. I hated how much I wanted to believe him. I know I can't undo what's been done, he added, softer now. But I can start showing up. If you'll let me. Finally, I spoke. I've cried so many nights wondering if I'd ever get this version of you back, I said. But I'm not the same either. I'm not sure I can be with someone who looked at our baby and saw a trap. He winced. I continued. I want this child to be wanted, not just born into obligation. I need to know you're not just here because you feel guilty. I'm here because I woke up scared one morning that you'd stop needing me. And I realized I don't want to be needed. I want to be wanted back. By you. By them. Silence fell. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Important. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded paper. I wrote a letter. For the baby. For someday. Just in case I screw up again. I took it. Didn't open it. Just held it. He looked down. Can I come to the next ultrasound? That question, it hit me hard. Because it wasn't can I come back? Or do you still love me? It was specific. Present. Real. I nodded. Yes. You can. We left the cafe together but in separate cars. No touching. No promises. Just a sliver of something like hope. That night, I read the letter. It said he was sorry. It said he wanted to grow up. It said he didn't know how to be a father, but he was ready to learn. It said he loved someone he hadn't met yet more than he thought was possible. It ended with, please forgive me if I fail, but know that I never stopped trying to become someone worth your love. I folded it and tucked it into the baby's memory box. I lay in bed after that, staring at the ceiling. And then the baby kicked. A real one this time. Strong. And all I could think was, am I doing the right thing? Am I giving him a chance? Or giving him another way to leave?